So I don't know if I named this video "Humanity is Blind," but that's basically what this video is about. Uh, about the collective blind spots and pathways we still keep energizing. Now, if you don't get what I mean, I'm talking about, and don't get me wrong, speaking up is part of all of that, but you should come from more empowered place. But if you don't get lost too much in censorship and it's happening, and this president won, or they made this president win over this one, and all this corruption. And I already think this is kind of an old message, but humanity still needs to get it, because there are so many spiritual teachers also touching on that. It's always, I don't want to say same message, but this is also a core message. We What I also come to realize, like even in the spiritual or woke community, we still get too much overly involved, and I mean from disempowering places or unnecessarily, right? Because if you take care of your shit and come from empowered place, speak up, it has much more, what's the right word, reverberance. It's your voice will be much louder, it will be heard, it will be much more powerful, uh, the more you get your shit together, because people need to hear it, because you empowered yourself and don't get lost in this distraction. Now, the thing, if you do though, if you get overly involved, it's always a mirror that you are, and it's ripping you of your energy, and you're still energizing the old. And now the main point with this video I want to lead into right now, with this introduction, with things that are already more or less in some degree already said, and I just want you to keep that in mind, what I just said. Now, how do you expect for us to move forward, or to make progress, or that your life gets better, or in general, that the world will finally you know go back to normal, or will be more comfortable for you again. And comfort is a lie, by the way, most of the time. It's peace what you're looking for and searching for. That's all the it's all what these beautiful spiritual teachers and gurus were trying to say to you. Now, how do you expect a collective, or the masses, or the vast majority of humans to be at peace again, resume, or however you want to call it, if they never truly were? How do you think we gonna empower ourselves and onto that level? And it's the greatest mirror, because if even if you already woke in the spirit community, then you already a leader, partly, or from one perspective. Now there's another mirror. Now you're the leader. Now you gotta show the way. Now you gotta stay higher and don't lose yourself in that rabbit hole, in that rabbit hole, in that maze of the collective. So you clear that path and leave a more empowering trail for the other ones. But if you look at the collective, they're still following an agenda of people who are headed towards self-denial. And self-denial, what it says, is ultimately towards the destruction of the whole, of the self, because they already feel that they already feel separated, not whole. They feel they are hurt, and they want to let it out on the whole, and they want to create more separation. And it leads to self-destruction, self-denial until ultimately, because then you come back to Source, because death is rebirth. You come to Source, it's a new playground. And also Mother Gaia, like they say, is the 0 point field. It's neutral to come back to that, to the starting point of all of that. So from one perspective, this might not even be bad, but they don't even know that they're going towards self denial, because they just follow that distorted frequency, and you follow that distorted frequency in some degree because you got still trauma playing out, and they still got trauma playing out, and they pray the distortion because they found no other way out. And then we created all these illusions, and they even try to personify and yeah, evil, and make an illusionary man out of it. They praise as the anti to the other illusionary man they created in their mind, and it's all out there. It's all illusionary. It's all um, mental. They project everything outwardly, and that's what still the large majority of human does in such a high degree, that we energize dismay so much, because if the individual energizes on his own already so much disempowerment and trauma, what do you think does the collective field does if it all sums up, and it all creates this giant mirror still. And if we all get too stuck and stagnated onto it, it finds no other way than to such a high degree than to go back to 0 point, and for the rebirth to happen. And unfortunately, if they follow and embrace the distorted frequency so much, they try to create much more suffering on the way, which is like much more trauma, and hurts more and more souls even more, which then we have to channel with. But if it would go to ultimate 0 point, it would be over, right? That's why they try to keep everyone into this empowering field, and they don't know that if they follow this distortion, and they don't know that if they follow so much the minus, it comes back to the plus and to the 0 point, and then we're back to oneness, to source, but not in a good way, not in a, like I said, not in a positive ascension, but in a descending manner minus. But we would be back at source again, but we would have we didn't come here for that. Okay, we come here for the mission. We don't need it. We don't need it again. This already happened once and more than once. uh, it's already, it's always and already our choice. We can follow the natural organic ascension, uh, and that's why it's the greatest mirror, because the natural is all about coming back to self, the organic, and it always goes that way, right? It's always coming back to that, no matter which way we go. The one just creates more disastrous illusions, and from one perspective of illusions, also experiences, or outside. What was the right word? I want to say something else, more disastrous forms, more disastrous forms it takes on, only to mirror to ourselves even more how where our empowerment, or state or level of empowerment and consciousness ultimate stands, or if we got lost too much into the maze and the contraction, and didn't see every part of this journey and every atom and energy of the universe ultimately in its divine perfect state and place. Because as soon as you do that, uh, you come back to the Father and that clear vision, and see everything as it is, and that everything serves the highest purpose for the highest good always, unless you wanna, unless you wanna create another mess in it and play into that reality only to come back to yourself to see that. So it's always that, like, um I remember when we had, like, I saw a science video, and it was about this sorry if I describe it wrong, but about these particles in the universe where actually no polarity should exist, but it's the void, but they're always popping up like a plus and then a minus, um, and then they are creating the 0 point again, and they're disappearing, because if you create this one polarity, the other will come to diminish it, and now diminish is such a bad connotation. That would be, this one pathway, but this is just a neutral perspective, and diminish has a negative connotation, but just to come back to 0 point, so there's a plus and a minus, so it doesn't have, um, because that's creation, you have patterns and crystallizations and creations through that, through polarization from a perspective as well, but it's always about the intent, because the minus doesn't necessarily has to be bad, right? it's it's the same as cornering yourself in nature. Um you spiritual yourself up, as I always see it. You spiritualize, you crystallize, you go high, uh, and then you quant yourself in nature to come back to 0 point, to oneness, and also to purity and beingness. Just another aspect of it, you might say. You could see it as male or female, but man, this is another thing where people and humans, or we can get lost into if we think too much, and it's like all these little matrices within these matrices. I did one video once. I don't know if I have it still up on my channel, but it's all a presentation of what reality you can or want to play out. You get confronted with it, and you're here in this human game, or in this game of reality of Mother Earth, where these opportunities you got represented with, and you can choose, but on some degree we still forgot, and that's why we kept playing in varying degrees, or energizing these states, of not so much empowerment, because we were born into this game of unconsciousness, as I always call it. Uh, just to realize and remember, we all know that now, but that's just a reality check. So what's the mission? How this battlefield, this battleground, this game count works. It's actually quite simple from that perspective, or crystal clear from that perspective, unless you get lost in the player that you are here. Okay, but you also y- you are the one playing your player, right? That's also what we want to remember, and that's actually quite simple from these higher or clearer perspectives, like an eagle, where you fly above and were above, and see everything more clearly. And I hope this could help. So now you know why humanity is, and they actually aren't, like, you can tap into, if you already woke or spiritual or conscious, and you might had problems, or not problems, issues with your family and friends, and or why you have no friends, why your family doesn't understand you, and all that, or all these things, in however it presented itself in your reality, uh, or you think, when will they wake up, and now you're beyond it, past that, uh, too negative. And you you know, that's another thing, you don't have to go into that they will never wake up, because if you just let it be, you always, like spirit, you always let the opportunity for them to ascend and grow and come into a higher consciousness again, which they truly are, and come back to the true self. And that's actually, you might say, what unconditional love or peace or these higher visions and states are, or how higher, dimensional beings, angels, see it. And or it's the more, it's you come into a greater, measure or world view, which adds even more to everyone and to the ascension. And now you can see that through that, or that even in them something changed, even if it's just a little bit, you can actually tune into that energy and see that. That's what I wanted to say. Okay. uh, so even if you still think, when will they finally believe what's actually happened, when will they only understand one little bit or start that journey, well, you can feel it in the energy, if you're tuned in, actually. And it's quite funny, and you can use that to, see it in a more hopeful, better manner. Like I said, come back to a more empowering worldview as well, or, uh, vision also for all, which is more empowering for all. And then they might, receive or see that you got that vision for humanity, and see everyone and everything in a better place. And then this might activate or flick that back in themselves, um, where they know this to be true in their heart. So, and then we come back to into a greater battle, not battlefield, in the greater, uh, game ground, right? Yay! And things get, more exciting, and we come back more into our, and we already are, we tap more into our creator energy also on a larger scale and on a collective. So I really would advise, and I think, that's also what, this, these higher dimensional beings always, um, as well say or teach, is that, you should always come into a more empowering, state yourself, or there's always, this trick to get lost too much in the outside. And, because you want to make something happen as well from one perspective, or if like on the self improvement path, in the beginning, when everyone wants to, um everyone follows these motivational quotes, or wants to be an entrepreneur, you know you want to make things happen, like, in a positive manner. But even that, sometimes it would be better to come back to not get lost there. And, um because sometimes then you're still trying to force things within you, and when actually this energy just wanted to be seen and healed, and come back into that higher light and ascend with you. And then you're on a higher, game count already. And then it will naturally, uh, this creation will spring forth from you, which you wanted to kind of channel this energy. So I just know that you wanted to and came here to create, and you're actually creating out of a higher state and game quant of joy and bliss and love and peace, which is more transforming and ultimately tapping more into your creative energy as well. there is much more depth to it for all of us to explore and to transcend, and yeah, to transcend these barriers we build for ourselves, to have something to hold onto, or give our lives creations direction. But it's the same with everyone doing the same thing. They are overusing these energy fields, which are already disempowering energy fields created for the collective to get that mirror, to come back to themselves, to empower themselves, like all these controlling yeah, energies and systems we saw in this world, which then, because they're so forceful, took upon forms of systematic oppression in all of its ways. It's oppression and suppression ultimately of the soul as well, because we're all one, and the soul is free and rejoices in it. And quite poetic, I know. Uh, that's what we are in all our different ways. Now, hope this video could help in some way or bring some clarity to you. I'm currently activating more my so I just always almost said soul chakra. Yeah, the soul star chakra also correlated to it, but I meant the solar, the seat of the self. I am as well. Every chakra got a higher purpose. The lower chakras aren't bad, they're just an expression, by the way, of higher thoughts and energies as well, or parts of the whole. And my throat. So hope this video could activate something beautiful in you too. uh, know that you are. It's all about coming back to yourself. Any beauty you see out in the world, it's actually reflecting the beauty within you. Okay, and I know somewhere in your life you already had that, so you can, so you shall know that you already are it. Okay, everything else is just a lie and illusion. You're beautiful, you're powerful. I hope this message could help you as well to remember that. Um, Peace. We're at peace. Bye.